Hello guys, Amazfit Balance 2 is an interesting proposition from the Chinese producer. I didn't own the previous model, but from what I've read, it left a good impression on the market. The last Amazfit watch I had was GTR 4, and I have very fond memories of it. After that, most of the watches I used were sport-oriented, mainly Garmin's, but I also had a brief stint with Suunto Race S. Currently, I use Garmin Fenix 8 on a daily basis, and I already have some thoughts about the Amazfit Balance 2. Let's not drag it out, let's get into it. Let's start with the classic design. The Balance 2 strongly reminds me of the GTR 4, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. But that doesn't mean there are no changes here. The most notable one is probably the sapphire glass, military-grade durability, 10 atmospheres water resistance. For a watch that cost around €300, that sounds pretty good. The watch is very light, it weighs just 43 grams without the strap, even though the bezel is 47 mm in size. The body is made of aluminium and the back is something like plastic. You also get two straps in the box, black and another one called Lava by the producer, which I personally used. The only thing I would change about design is the crown. To me, it doesn't really match to the rest of the watch. The display is AMOLED and its size is over 1.5 inches, and I have to admit it makes an impression. It's large and very readable even in bright sunlight, thanks to its brightness of over 2000 nits. You can leave the brightness in auto mode or set it manually. There are plenty of watch faces to choose from. You can download them via the app, but keep in mind one thing, not all watch faces are interactive. On some faces, tapping a complication will take you directly to the related function, for example, heart rate chart. On many others, it doesn't work, so those faces become, let's say, non-interactive. Some faces allow you to customize the complications, some don't, which can be a bit confusing. We have always on display, including a choice of several styles of the screen when on, and the ability to track the current watch face with always on display. It's a matter of taste, of course. However, not everything is perfect with the display. One issue is that the glass is raised above the bezel, which makes it more impact sensitive. I'm speaking from my personal experience, as I've accidentally bumped my Garmin device into things like door more than once. On my Fenix 8, the glass sits below the bezel, which reduces the risk of damage. Another problem is how easily the screen gets dirty. I'm not sure what coating they use here, but compared to the Fenix 8, which also has sapphire glass, it's much worse. With the Garmin, a quick wipe with your shirt makes the screen shine. With this one, you really have to work to clean the fingerprints off. The watch runs on Zepp OS. Swiping sideways opens the widget menu. Swiping up shows notifications, and swiping down opens the quick settings. Pressing the crown brings up the activity menu, and pressing the lower button brings up the watch functions menu. The watch runs fairly smoothly. Occasionally it slows down a bit, but generally it performs well. You need to be careful because the touchscreen is quite sensitive, and navigating through the menu, especially using the crown, can sometimes cause you select an option you didn't really intend to. And another thing, unfortunately, only the crown button is programmable, and I've set it to turn on the flashlight. The Zepp app is really good, and it's clear that Amazfit is working on improving it. It's divided into four main sections. Home section, this is where you will find our readiness, sleep, and your core metrics like steps, heart rate, stress level, heart rate variability, calories, pi points, and etc. It's also worth going into the profile tab. There is a little icon of the person in the top right corner. That's where you can set your heart rate zones or connect with third-party app like Strava. Next is the workout section, where you will find your exercise history, training status, and Zepp coach, but I will go into the sport features a bit later. Then there is the Zepp Aura section, which contains tools related to health and sleep analysis. It offers features designed to help you with sleep and relax, like relaxing music and sounds, but some of these features are locked behind a subscription, so I didn't explore this section much. And finally, the device section. Here you can access the watch face store, install additional apps, and configure watch settings like notifications, screen preferences, sounds, and widgets. And now the smart features, starting with notifications. The watch can display emojis and even images. I saw photos, for example, on WhatsApp and Telegram. We can reply to messages with a predefined response or by typing on the watch keyboard. But we also can dictate a message. You can choose which apps you want to receive notifications from, and you can turn off notifications during training. You can take calls directly on the watch and even make calls from the watch interface. In my opinion, call quality is surprisingly good for a smartwatch, but you will have to judge that for yourself.
Hello?
Hello, it's me.
Oh, that's you, okay.
Do you recognize my voice?
Yes, I recognize your voice.
But
But I hear you.
quieter, yes? This little, my voice is not very loud, yes?
Yes, it's not very loud. It's like half of the tune, half of the volume, like from the phone, from my side.
Okay. But, it's smartwatch, it's not phone.
Okay. Yes.
Okay, thank you, bye.
Bye.
The Zep Pay feature is available, but unlike the wide support offered by Garmin, not all cards can be added. You can check which banks are supported by Zep app. If your bank is not supported, you can also add a Curve card. I opened a Curve account just to test this, even though I'm not a fan of such workarounds, and I can confirm payments via Curve work without issues. Other available smart features include alarm, calendar, weather forecast, stopwatch, timer, find my phone, voice memos, thermometer, and music storage, and the ability to connect Bluetooth headphones. However, you can't connect to streaming services like Spotify, which you can do on Garmin, so that's a downside. There is also a built-in AI assistant that you can chat with about almost anything, and you can also use voice commands to control the watch, like setting brightness or starting a workout. The watch does have a flashlight, but it's not a physical one like on the Fenix, it's just a bright screen mode, which doesn't come close to the real flashlight in something like Fenix. And now onto the activity and health tracking features. I will go over the sport features a bit later. So first of all, heart rate monitoring. You can set how often your heart rate is measured, which the most frequent option being every 1 minute. You also get alert for high and low heart rate, and you can set custom threshold values for both. Blood oxygen saturation, in my experience, it works fairly okay. My readings usually stayed between 97–99%, and I would say it's more consistent than on the Amazfit GTR 4. Then menstrual cycle tracking, a standard feature for women, stress monitoring, and PI points. Personal activity intelligence. This metric has been in Amazfit devices for as long as I can remember. You can earn PI points by increasing your heart rate through physical activity. The higher your PI score, the healthier your lifestyle is. There is also one-tap measuring feature. It takes several readings at once: heart rate, saturation, stress, and breathing rate. Then meditation options are available. Jet lag measurements, nice to have if you travel frequently. And sleep tracking. You do get a general sleep score, sleep stage, heart rate during sleep, breathing rate, and even an estimated risk of sleep apnea. My sleep data was generally comparable to what I got from my Garmin, especially in terms of sleep quality evaluation. But of course, I don't have any clinical devices to verify this. Nap detection is also supported. Related to sleep, there is a morning report that gives you a summary when you wake up. Weather, battery level, readiness score, sleep score, and your previous day's SPY points. You can even customize which elements are shown in this report. And now the sport features. First of all, we have a training history and then something called the ZEP Coach, which allows you to create personalized training plans, including running plans and basic AI plans designed to improve your fitness. The plan is generated by AI. To be honest, I haven't tried it myself. Next, there is a tab called Exercise Status, where you will find your current training load, VO2 max, and full recovery. At first, it was a bit confusing to me because on the home section there is something called readiness, which appears in the morning after sleep and doesn't change during the day. It's a snapshot of your overnight recovery. I thought that if I did a workout, the readiness score would update, but it doesn't. By contrast, with Garmin, the body battery or training readiness will decrease after each activity. I've heard that this readiness metric is supposed to be replaced with a more dynamic one called BioCharge, but I don't have that available on my watch, even though I'm on the latest software version. Since I mentioned VO2 max, in the case of Amazfit, is calculated based on running, at least according to what the app says. Unfortunately, I don't have a power meter on my road bike in Poland, but based on this info, it seems there isn't a separate VO2 max calculated for cycling, like Garmin does. If I'm wrong, feel free to let me know in the comments. It's important for me because I place more importance on cycling, and that's also reflected in my Garmin VO2 max. Another important metric available here is heart rate variability. It reflects how your body responds to stress, sleep, recovery, illness, or training. For me, this is one of the most important indicators I check in the morning. There is also a compass and barometer available. There is over 170 activities, including things like freediving and recreational diving. The watch can go down to 45 meters underwater. I haven't tried this because I don't dive. However, there is no Nordic walking, even though you will find activity modes like chess and dog walking. There is also golf mode, which golf maps, but you need to download them first. If you play golf, this is definitely a bonus. My main activities are road cycling, running and swimming, mostly in the pools. I want to pause here to talk about swimming. I swam with this watch in both 25 and 50 meter pools, and I have to say it performs pretty well. As long as you set the pool length correctly, swim using one style, and clearly makes turns. It counts laps accurately. From my experience, it's more likely to miss a lap rather than add extra ones, but sometimes it counts a lap late, for example halfway. This had happened to me a few times. If you change styles within a single 25 or 50 meter lap or don't clearly signal a turn, inaccurate lap counting increases. I was surprised by how many in-depth options are available within a workout for non-sport specific watch. There is a resume later option, which I love on Garmin, that lets you minimize a workout during, for example, a coffee break. You can also customize workout data fields and even increase the number of data fields per screen to 6. That's impressive. You can minimize a workout by holding the lower button, so it runs in the background while you use other watch functions, another plus. Post-workout analysis is quite extensive, especially considering this isn't a pro sports watch. For running, you get things like heart rate, pace graphs, heart rate zone, training effects, real-time performance, cadence, ground contact time, and details per kilometer. You can also pair external sensors via Bluetooth. I connected to a heart rate monitor and a cadence sensor on my bike. The full names of the sensors appear, not just heart rate or cadence, which is a plus. The heart rate sensor is BioTracker 6.0. As for accuracy, it's mostly fine, but not always. I'm not blown away. Let's break down a few examples. The first, cycling in heart rate zones 2 and 3, no major problems. Amazfit Balance 2 performs pretty well, with only slight differences compared to the Phoenix and Polar Verity Sense. Road cycling with more speed-ups, still okay, although in one section with a clear uphill, the Amazfit seemed to overestimate compared to the Phoenix and Polar. Easy run, for the most part, no big issues. At the beginning, it got a bit confused, but then it tracks fairly well until near the end, when it struggled again slightly, especially right before and during an uphill. Tempo run, here's where problems start. Even though they weren't big uphills, just running in the higher heart rate zone seemed to throw the Amazfit off. It started misreading in several sections. Phoenix also had some spikes, but they very much smaller than Amazfit's. Intervals, here it's all over the place. In all 6 repeats, the Amazfit failed to reach the heart rate peaks shown by the Phoenix or Polar Verity Sense. It just couldn't handle the higher heart rates, at least in my case. Of course, intervals are one of the hardest tests for a wrist-based sensor, but still, the Phoenix handled it much better. The Balance 2 has dual-band GPS, and I have to say that GPS lock is incredibly fast, almost instant. In terms of accuracy, I have no complaints, whether I was cycling or running. That said, when comparing distance, Amazfit consistently showed slightly shorter distance than my Phoenix 8 for both runs and rides. I don't usually run in forest, but recently I went out of my way to run through a fairly wooded area just to test the GPS, and thankfully it held up very well. No GPS loss, which is a big plus. And now maps. The watch has over 32 GB of storage, and you need to download maps via the app first. If you want to follow a specific road, you have to send it to the watch, for example via a GPX file. I personally plan my route in Google Maps, then cover it to GPX, send it to my phone, and then share it with the Zep app. It's a shame there isn't a tool for drawing roads in the app itself. The maps are quite detailed. They even show street names, and you get voice signals and vibration alerts when it's time to turn. The screen automatically dims during navigation, which isn't very convenient when cycling, if anyone actually uses a watch for navigation while cycling, of course. But I thought it was worth mentioning. You can also navigate back to your starting point or save a location and return to it later. And now the battery. Amazfit Balance 2 has a 658 mAh battery. The producer claims up to 21 days of battery life with a typical use, but honestly, that only holds up if you are treating it like a simple watch and not using many features. Here's how it looked in my case. Sleep tracking 1 to 2%, 1 hour workout with GPS about 4 to 5%, full day use without always on display and no workout 9%, using with always on display but without training 12 to 13%, so on average without always on display and with 30 to 1 hour of daily training, the battery lasted me about 7 days. But apart from training, I get a lot of notifications, heart rate monitoring every minute, and screen lighting up when I get a notification, so take that into account. Charging from 7% to full took me 1 hour and 2 minutes using the included charger. And note, there is no USB-C cable in the box. So my final thoughts? Amazfit Balance 2 is an incredibly feature-rich smartwatch, and honestly, it surprised me in many positive ways. A lot of people compare it to Garmin, but I'm not sure that's a fair comparison. Yes, Amazfit is starting to bring in features traditionally found in sports watches like offline maps, golf maps, dive modes, and advanced health training recovery tools. But in my opinion, it's still not quite there yet. Amazfit does many of the things Garmin does from a sport perspective, but not always in the most optimal way, especially when it comes to training and recovery metrics. Perhaps the BioCharge feature will change that in the future. That said, as a smartwatch with strong sport features, priced at around €300, it's very hard to beat. You're getting great build quality, including sapphire glass, a large bright AMOLED display, tons of smart features like calls, voice messages, ZapPay support. Okay, I wish you didn't need a curve card for most banks. Music storage, I know streaming support like Garmin would be amazing, and a huge variety of fitness and health tracking options. This makes it a very attractive option for many people. However, I still believe that the main target market is people looking for a more advanced smartwatch with extensive sports features, or those looking for a cheaper alternative to Garmin, which is still considered the leader in the world of sports watches. But again, if you are looking for a sports watch that is cheaper than Garmin, you can always check out the Sunto Race S, for example. That is why I still think that the target group is people looking for more advanced smart features and good sports features at the same time. One thing's for sure, the more competition, the better for us as consumers. Thank you very much for staying until the end of this video. I encourage you to leave a comment in the comment sections below, and of course, see you in the next videos. Bye!